before we
Um,
move on.
yeah, actually, what I was gonna do was because Velvet answered many questions that we had as a collective.
Yeah.
Before
I
we go to the
appreciate that
next,
poetic.
I just wanted to nip this in the bud, Velvet. I know you've probably been asked this plenty of times, but now that you're doing this actual interview with people that like report on carbonation, can you clear up the rumor about you leaving a child behind to go follow behind Nature Boy? Is that true?
I don't have no children. Eliana is my only child. I ain't never leave no child to be with carbonation.
Okay. I guess people.
The only child I have is Eliana. Now I've taken care of other men's babies.
They referencing Aiden. Yeah.
Because of that newspaper article where you were in a
Okay,
photo.
so I was in a relationship with this guy. He had a baby. The baby's mother was not involved, and it was an infant. Like he was about 4 months when I came into his life, and I felt really bad for him, and I knew that he needed a mother, so I stayed and I mothered him up until he was almost a year old. So the baby actually thought that I was his mother because I was that present in his life, but me and the father didn't work out because he was cheating on me. So we didn't work out because I he was just doing a whole bunch of shit behind my back, so we didn't work out. But yeah, that's not my actual child.
That's great that you cleared that up because the child actually, resembled you. And a lot of people were like, well, they didn't correct it in the article. They said his mother and father.
Because
So,
I took care of him. And to those people who took the article, they thought that I was his actual mother
uh
because we didn't tell them details about what was happening or what was going on.
see, first
Yeah.
time we get into details about this, so that's a good thing. Thank you for answering that question.
Yep, and I did actually did a little video about that, clearing that up back in the day, but people still didn't believe me. So I'm
So
glad
I'm
we're
glad
speaking on that now.
on it.
Enough views. That video didn't get enough views.
Sweet Ma, are you done with that question?
Yeah, yeah, I'm done.
Okay. All right, Velvet. Before we get to the next chapter, which is going to be Costa Rica, I think we're gonna just kind of backtrack a little bit, and I want to ask you, when you initially got over to melanation and you kind of started getting like used to how things were going there, how the group ran, how Nature Boy kind of led everybody. When did you start noticing the brainwashing tactics that he would use on the group? And like, do you, looking back now, do you recognize, like, just thinking back, like maybe like when y'all would wake up in the morning and y'all would have to always tell him what your dreams were the night before in a group circle? Like, what are some of the brainwashing tactics that you can remember from when you initially got over there?
I didn't see no tactics honestly when I got over there. I didn't understand most of the shit that he was doing. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought everything was normal. I didn't start putting two and two together for real, up until we was in Belize in 2018. This was when he was trying to pursue Sheba. That's when I really started seeing shit. Like it was weird how everything was going. But the only manipulation tactics that I seen during that period of time was how he tried to manipulate me to being his wife and allowing other women to come into our relationship without my permission. That's he had a lot of manipulation tactics towards me, surrounded around the point of like um him saying how I needed to be polygamous and it's natural, and trying to teach the world that polygamy is natural and homosexuality is natural. In Belize, this is he is recorded him going on and on about how these things are natural, and he was like teaching this to us in the camp, which I personally have my own disposition with homosexuality, homosexuals and stuff like that. So in a sense, like I understood what he was saying, but after a while, I started realizing that even when I would like make video, videos and stuff, like proclaiming his kingdom, it wasn't coming from my heart over there. It wasn't coming from my heart. And so I stopped making videos. I started really proclaiming, and me and him would get into argument fights about me not proclaiming, me not making videos, me not doing this and me not doing that. And it became physically abusive. And then it just, I was already pregnant by that time, so I couldn't even like, I couldn't really dip out the way that I wanted to dip out in Mexico, the way I wanted to dip out, because I was so tied in that I had to maneuver and move a certain way to get myself out. But I ain't start seeing manipulation taxes until Belize in 2018.
Um, T, I don't know if you mind if I just ask this one question because it's like perfect timing. She brought it up. You mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. So, Velvet, you mentioned the homosexuality. I've always wondered, were you okay knowing that he had an attraction for men?
I didn't know he was into. I didn't know he was into that. When the video came out about him doing that sexual video with the doctor, with the white doctor, he actually kept that from us. He didn't let us see that video. He would like tell us delete it, delete it, delete it. And one day I brought it up myself. This was when this was recently actually. One of the times I had recently went back, I brought up the video to him, and I seen him in it, and I was trying to understand his disposition, because other times he would be on the phone with men, like the clients from his past, and I would catch him on the phone from the clients from his past, and he would be showing them his penis, and I would feel some type of way about it. And I would ask him like, why are you having these conversations with these men? Like, what's the issue with you showing your penis and stuff? And he'll say like, well, I have these connects. They're my connects for resources. You can't just get rid of people in your life who's serving a purpose. So he was basically using these relationships like he was in the past for sex to get in exchange for money. And so I didn't really give too much of my energy to it, because there was a whole bunch of other stuff that I was dealing with on top of that. Like the physical abuse surpassed it all. My mind, my focus was completely like, it was zoomed in into like the physical abuse paired with the mental abuse. So when it came to his like orientation, or his preference sexually and stuff like that, I turned a blind eye to, because even though he was having those conversations with these gay men, he would say like, but I'm not gay, I don't want to be in this relationship, I want to be with you, love bombing me. Like, y'all have no idea the level of love bombing this nigga had to do to me. Like, y'all seen just a little bit that he was doing to Malia. Like, he had to really, really, really love bomb me, because I already had a certain type of standard and I had self-esteem. So he had to break me down as much as he could. But nah, I never agreed with him being a male stripper. I felt like that was his past, and people have a past. In that moment, I felt like people have a past, so I forgave him for doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? But when I started realizing that uh a lot of stuff I forgot about too with his sexual preference, because like I told you, it was a whole bunch of stuff surrounding the situation where my focus was zoomed into specific parts more than others. But I remember one time in Belize, he was on the phone with a transsexual, and he was trying to get the transsexual to come to be in the relationship with me and him. And this was when he was going hard about homosexuality being natural, and he had me admit on live that I was attracted to sexual transsexuals too, so that me and him could be on the same level and in the same boat. Which I'm not attracted to men who like other men. I'm not attracted to men who want to have sex with other men. So when I said that, it wasn't that I didn't, it wasn't that I actually meant that. It was the fact that anything that he could use to manipulate me to fit his agenda, or to fit the character who he is, he'll get me to do anything or tell me to do anything. And if I didn't do it, it was arguing. We always argued. He was always hitting me, putting his hands on me, trying to kidnap my baby away from me and confiscate my documents so that I wouldn't leave. So his sexual preference, I sort of forgave him for the shit because he was like, I don't want to do that. No, I'm not that person no more. Da 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 da. But I'm just like, at this point, I completely feel like he is insecure when it comes to his sexual preference to the point where he feel like he'll be judged, so he can't really express himself how he truly wants to express himself. Like for real, I think that he would have men and women. I think he's bisexual. And so, but I think I think he feels like he's gonna get judged by everyone online if he does that, because then niggas really gonna know that he ain't the fucking Messiah. Needless to say, he's trying to refrain from doing certain things on social media so that he doesn't completely air himself out. You know what I'm saying? But I don't agree with his sexual preference actually.
There was a point where he was downing homosexuality, and he said, "We don't want that here in Carbonation. That is not okay." And then he was saying that we were all hermaphrodites and we all had penises, and I was kind of confused. Do you think he has an attraction to the men that are in Carbonation, not just transgender? Do you think that he might? Because I see he flirts with the Pice. He flirts with them.
If a man if a man in carbonation embodies any type of femininity, he'll play on it. It doesn't matter if the man look like a woman or not. It's about control for Nature Boy. So for a man or a boy, and that boy is supposed to be a man, but he embodies feminine qualities, and he doesn't know himself, they're able to give their all of their power to Nature Boy to be able to control him. So Nature Boy is on his high horse when he's around them because he feels more empowered. He takes the innocence of the person, because I'm gonna say it like this, right? I believe that there are manly men out there with feminine qualities. Now, if that man chooses to express his femininity with another man, that's his preference. I don't agree with it, but that's his preference. You see what I'm saying? I don't have shit to do with that. But when it becomes to a point where a man is expressing his femininity and then another man takes advantage of that or try to say that he's going to be over this man and take his manhood just off of the strength that he has or he embodies some feminine qualities, it's some fuck shit. That's some controlling type shit. So in their little world, all of the men there obviously have feminine qualities, and Nature Boy feel like it's all women there, whether they're a man or look like a man or not. They are all are some little bitches to him.
I don't know if you noticed, he has like a connection with Loyal and Pice that is just beyond me. I don't. Mm, sorry you had to endure that.
I'm telling you, those men will run to bow to his feet. He Nature Boy will say, the men act like more of my wives than y'all do. The men are more of a wife to me than y'all are. And he'll like degrade the women in the same sense and be like, you bitches ain't shit. Like the men treat me better than y'all. The men make sure I have everything I need better than y'all. So I asked Nature, but I say, well, why don't you be with the men?
Word.
And
Um,
the men there, they'll be like, that's my chief, that's my chief, that's my chief. It's me and him to the end. And you withering, and they withering the fuck away. You sitting up there being considered as a eunuch, but you have an actual wife there with a child with her, and you letting Nature Boy fuck on her. Ain't no real man about to just sit there and let that shit happen under
No.
the doctrine of another man, unless that man want to be with that man that he's getting the doctrine from.
do you remember when Solar said that it was an honor that his chief took? Zoka back to have sex with Zoka, he said it was an honor. I couldn't believe that he said that.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you. I fuck you, bitch. Get her out of my fucking pants. Get her out of the fuck out of my room. Fuck
She's
her.
in here?
Fuck that bitch. Get her out. So look,
Wow.
I'll answer that. I'll speak on that more towards the end when y'all ask me that question because I know that that's a question that's coming up and I'll explain.
Okay.
Well, my next question, and I think this was in Costa Rica, and I know we're going back just a little bit, but this also touches a little bit on how the men are so loyal to him. And this was when the incident with the bus, the paperwork, to touch on how he made such a fuss about paperwork. Now, I remember that, and I remember that the men got most of the abuse. But the boy didn't really seem all that touched to me as far as the abuse. What would you say that was about? Was that about
Wait,
him just
I didn't. Can you backtrack?
yeah, the this was in Costa Rica when everyone got pulled over. I think everyone was on a bus
Mhm.
and the authorities needed some type of paperwork, maybe it was for the tax. And Nature Boy kept saying that no, I want to fight against the system. I should be able to cross this border without giving you any type of paperwork. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And I remember the video, and the men were they were beaten up, and the women too. And I remember Nature Boy, he didn't seem like he was touched much at all. It seemed like the men really came to his defense in that time.
Yeah, they did. So did I.
No, no, Val. The night y'all was going to the carnival.
Yeah,
Remember he gave
I
y'all a choice
remember
to go
that.
to the
Yeah, that was
carnival,
the
or
night
he
we
gave y'all
got.
a choice to
That
go
was
to
the
the
night
to
we
the
went to
beach or
jail.
something.
Yeah, that
And
was.
everybody said they wanted to go to the beach, and he said he wanted to go to the carnival.
Yeah, I
And that's how
remember.
y'all got into that melee on that bus.
Yeah, I remember that. We got. What was the question though?
Um, the question was, could that have been easily prevented had he just complied and showed some paperwork?
Nature Boy, I don't know what he was trying to do, but the reason why we ended up in that situation, it wasn't necessarily because we were going to a carnival. It was because of the fact that we weren't stamping our passports. We were like 6 months overdue. So when we got pulled over on the way to the carnival, they took us to immigration jail. All he had to do was go get his passport stamp, get our passport stamp so that we wouldn't be in that situation. But once we got in that situation, this nigga tried to refuse, which made the police force fuck us up. Because
Right.
he was refusing and because he didn't want to get off the bus and because he didn't want to sign the immigration papers, they practically could have beat us to death if they wanted to, but they fucked over all of us. They let the people go. Majority of the people who was on the bus had already had their stamps, but he was telling the people who already had their stamps to stand by his side and say, "I'm gonna go to jail with you anyway, even though I got a stamp." So those people had wound up in jail, but what they did was they incarcerated all of us, but they started letting us go one by one. So when it got down to the final countdown, it was me, Omeg, Tron, and Nature Boy. We was the only people who didn't have the stamps because everybody else who was there had left from that little sector. So we was the only ones in the actual immigration jail. Like I was the only woman in the immigration jail by myself in the immigration jail with other women I did not know. And Nature Boy, Omek and Tron and Key at the time, he was the one too. Key too. He didn't have his passport stamp. But if we would have just listened to the immigration people, we would have never end up in. We would have ended up in the immigration jail, no doubt, because that's the only facility that they could have held us in to get us on a plane to get to where we needed to go. But they would have never beat us the way that they did. They would have never put us in those cells the way that they would have never even treated us the way that they did. They treated us fucked up because Nature Boy was being fucked up to them. And then when on the video, I don't know if everybody watched that video, but when the video happened and the police started coming onto him, taking him, like trying to get him off the bus and stuff, he was saying the same shit he was saying to Visa on his panel. I love you, bro. I love you, bro. I love you, bro. Like, just a
Yep.
weak bitch ass nigga.
Yep, we saw it, we heard it.
Uh, I don't know, T, if you mind if I just like since Stinson just asked this question, I just want to throw this in. 'Cause this was my only Costa Rica question. Um, I know Nature Boy denies that you guys didn't have a stench. When the whole group got kicked off of the plane, you guys missed the flight, and they were telling you that it was because of the odor, and Nature Boy made it seem as if it was a, a discrimination thing. Was it discrimination, or was it in fact true that the odor was too much?
There were black people in there from Nicaragua, Guatemala, Honduras, just like us, darker than us, right? Poorer than us. We actually had money in that bitch compared to them. Them niggas didn't even have numbers to call them people to get them out. It wasn't because of no discrimination. It was because of Nature Boy's attitude. Nature Boy had a very fucked up attitude to the. He was trying to manipulate the people in there, and they seen that shit, so they treated us like, bitch, you could stay in this bitch for all I care. So, and then on top of that, it was distinct. It was distinct because Nature Boy was okay. So before we actually went to jail, Nature Boy, in the actual camp, he would promote taking showers as minimal as possible because he would say that we don't need to wash off our our first layer of our skin so that we can compute information from the environment. So we wasn't really taking baths like that. Neither was we really using soap. Like in Costa Rica, like we really wasn't using like we had soap and we showered from time to time, but it was a big deal to him. Like if you got caught taking more than 3 to 4 showers a week, you was getting scalded. If you was caught using more soap than normal or cleaning some shit, you was scalded. You was scalded for it. You know what I'm saying? He used to always like argue with us about laundry. We argued about laundry, shit like that. So by the time we got to the cell, because we wasn't using deodorant, we wasn't taking baths, we wasn't doing that shit on a regular basis like everybody else was. So of course we smelled different when we went in that bitch. So when we went in, he was like, "Don't use the water." He was really super extreme. He was like, "Don't use the water, don't use the soap, don't do nothing. Just go on strike." Go on strike. Don't eat, don't do nothing, don't do this, don't do that. So he was collecting all the food for collateral in the fucking immigration jail to manipulate the men that was in there to gain control of the people in there. Then on top of that, because we wasn't taking baths and stuff, by the time we got on the plane, they was like, "Y'all niggas stink, like y'all need to take a bath." So it wasn't that they like didn't want us to leave. They only told us that the only way you're gonna be able to leave is if y'all take a shower. Like at least take a shower and change your clothes before you get on the plane. And so that's what we had to do before we went out the next day to get on the plane.
Bam.
Thank you for answering, Doc.
So I guess my question basically is pretty easy question, Velvet. Was there at any point, was there any private talk amongst you guys that Nature Boy just may not be in his right mind after that bus incident and after your stint in jail in Costa Rica? Or were you guys so brainwashed at that point that you just thought that, yeah, they're against us? Like
That's
what
when
was
that's when he was going the hardest. And all of us was like, we need to protect him. You know how he get online and he'll be like, protect the black man. Like every time his shit start hitting the fan, he'll super brainwash the people there So like right now, all of the women that's surrounding him right now, they're not looking at the situation like this nigga really is mentally manipulating me. They're not watching my panel like, oh my gosh, she's right. They're watching my panel like, oh no, she's wrong. She's just trying to take my chief down. She's just trying to say this and say that and say this and say that's not right. And they're all like from what he's telling them, they'll come up with a way to deny everything that's being said. But if you ask them a question, they can't answer it. If you sit there and show them what the fuck is going on, they can't sit there and even calculate it and come to terms with it because he has a control over their minds on some literal shit. These are the times when he go the hardest. This is when he put all of his energy in. See, when we not doing this, he chilling on the other end of the camera. He doing whatever the fuck it is he want to do. He's beating people. He's raping people. He's fucking molesting kids, doing whatever the fuck it is that he does that's wrong. But see, when the heat is turned up, that's when he be like, y'all need to protect me. Y'all need to do this. Y'all need to do that. And everybody in Carbonation starts standing up there like soldiers, like they as strong as they are. No, bitch, you not strong. You weak. Com- com- Compared to how he look at you, he don't look at the people in Carbonation as strong. He look at them as weak, and that's the only reason why he have them around him too, because he's able to manipulate their minds. Anybody who seems a little bit intelligent standing next to him, he'll start telling them like, "Oh, so you think you smarter than me? So you think you could do it on your own? You're not gonna be able to live without me. You're not gonna be able to do this without me." That. And because these people don't have a lot of experience, they believe that shit, and they be like, I do need him, I do need to be with him, I do need to, like, yeah, like, and so they really start getting into the character. That's what the fuck is really going on.
Oh, that makes so much sense. It really does.
um, Let me tell you how I know, because I was that person. When my dad Before my dad came to Mexico to get me, I wanted to leave. I wanted to leave with my child. I wanted to leave before my dad came to Mexico. When my dad came to Mexico and I disrespected the shit out of my dad and Tina when they came there, was because that's when he turned up. He turned up to manipulate me. So I was like, no, don't destroy. No, no. I'm sitting there panicking off of the strength of him to save him. But he was only using me as a pawn. He wasn't See, you gotta understand, the people around him, they're not actually like, this is what I want to do in my life. He's pushing his pieces on his board. If you are considered a piece on his board and he's able to use you, he will. Under any circumstance. Under any circumstance.
That's for sure. Mm.
Absolutely.
So when he says this is chess, not checkers, he literally means that.
He plots on like, he plotted on me the entire time. Like, I ain't catch on to certain shit until completely after the fact, because I never been exposed to this type of stuff. My dad never exposed me to this type of stuff. My dad actually was trying to protect me from this type of stuff, to the point where he didn't necessarily teach me about it because he wanted me to never find it out. But not realizing that the energy that's in me is going to attract whatever is going to attract, to figure out what I need to figure out and get the experiences. So with Nature Boy, when I went through all that with him or whatever, um I didn't start seeing stuff until like after the fact, to really learn the patterns. This is how I learned the patterns. You know what I'm saying? But he would say stuff to me like, yeah, I want to get you pregnant so that I can trap you. He would say stuff like that, but I didn't know what he meant, because no man had ever told me that before. Like, I didn't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what that means. But he always try to like use something. He's always trying to use something to reel you in, to manipulate you, to get you to stay, or to get you to be on his side in some kind of way, or anything he can use. Anything.
He knew you wanted to be a wife and a mom, so he's gonna give you that. He's gonna give you that. Mm.
Should we go to chapter Mexico?
Sure. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if you want me to ask first, but
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead and ask first.
okay. This question is so simple. I just wanted to know, when you were in Mexico, did you guys do anything in nature other than just go to the waterfall? Did you plant anything? Did you guys do anything?
and when we did, excuse me, we didn't do shit in Mexico. We didn't build not a damn thing in Mexico. And when we did start building, it was off of the strength of me. Because
Yeah.
I said that I wanted to have a garden. And when he started building the garden, it was so much of the drama that he was creating in our reality that we was damn near sitting in meetings every day, day in and day out, listening to this nigga talk about shit that had nothing to do with the build. We didn't build shit in Mexico. It was all drama, and that's all he want. And I told him that I'm like, it just seemed like you want drama. It just seemed like that's the type of lifestyle you want to live. Drama. I don't want to live like that.
You feed off of it.
That was very evident. My question for you, Velvet, is I know that Mexico was a huge it was a huge turning point for carbonation. So much happened, and I don't even think we have enough time to sit here all night to talk about Mexico. But Mexico really turned up the heat for Nature Boy, and it also brought in the most views that he had ever had when it came to documenting and viewing his cult. By the time that you guys were in Mexico, he got you pregnant, he trapped you, he damn near almost lost you and the baby's life. Like, I want to know, this is my first question about Mexico. Did you get any prenatal care in Mexico when you were
No,
pregnant?
no, none. The only thing he allowed me to have was a village midwife who did not speak English and practically didn't know what the fuck she was doing to come and rub my belly. That's it. That's it. I never seen a doctor. I never had vitamins. I never got checked up. I never got my blood tested. I never got nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. And Serenity didn't either. Serenity was worse than me. She didn't have nothing, nothing, nothing. Like nothing. Like she didn't even get her baby checked until she had it.
You was skin and
Well, and
bone.
that was my next question. I remember the birth of baby Ileana, and I remember you saying once that you didn't even know. I believe I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe I know Pops will know. Baby Ileana was breached or maybe sitting on your bladder.
Both.
Wow.
I had complications because he wasn't taking me to get medical attention. Those medical complications could have been worked out if I was being seen by a professional. But because I
Did the
wasn't, I
right?
was I was in excruciating pain and damn near on my deathbed, me and the child.
Did you
Did the doctors at the hospital, I know that they didn't speak English and you didn't speak Spanish, but did they ever like try to relay that message to anyone so that that could be relayed to you how bad it was?
I don't know if they did, but nobody told if they did,
Yeah,
nobody told me anything. Nature
yeah,
Boy didn't tell me a damn thing. I didn't even know my baby was breached. I
yeah.
thought
They
that I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that. I didn't know that until my dad told me. And I was like, Dad, are you lying to me? Like I started turning a blind eye, and he was like, No, your baby was really breached. I'm like,
they was trying to get either her mother who was on the phone with Nature Boy or him to agree to an emergency C-section.
Oh,
He said no. Then he asked her, and she said no. So they wound up having to go in with forceps, open up. That's why it was so painful.
right.
Turn the baby and then get the baby to come out. And they explained that to me because I talked to the actual doctor who delivered the baby. So
I ain't know none of that until after. I'm talking about a year after I had her.
yeah, because she was in so much pain.
She would
And he,
try to sleep whenever she could. I mean, I remember watching her and it was just like,
And it was a terrible experience after I had Eliana. He doesn't go into how he treated me after we had Eliana. This nigga would tell me to get. He would call me weak. I would be laying there and my body, my stitches are still on my vagina. He'll be like, "You're weak. Why you acting weak? You need to show these bitches how it's done." I'm like, "Yo, I could barely walk." So like, not even 2 weeks after I had Eliana, I was on my feet cooking big ass meals for the entire family.
I remember
I'm talking
you
about
walking.
everybody.
Yeah, I remember you walking with baby Eliana back to the hospital. You had just had her.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was fucked up how he treated me. Like, he treated me like I wasn't shit. Like, he did not let me heal. He did not let me recover the way that I was supposed to. And he tried to say that he took care of me because he had the women there by my side, but any woman knows if she get pregnant by a man, it's not another woman who she needs, it's the man who she needs. And I expressed this to him verbally, and this nigga told me that I was ungrateful, told me that I needed to be grateful for what I had and the fact that women was taking care of me. I'm like, I don't need them to take care of me. I needed you. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, especially after birthing his child. That's exactly as women what we need and what we want is the love and compassion of the man of the child we just gave birth, you know?
So basically, she was on her deathbed and he was insensitive to her healing. You were like this close to death, and
Yes, I was.
that's nothing but a demon. I, you know, there was a point I remember when Pops, he revealed that Eligio slapped you or hit you while you guys were in the car, and you had a bloody nose. Did you have baby Ellie at that time?
I was pregnant with Eliana. I was like 6 months pregnant with Eliana when he did that. We
And
was
what?
sitting in the car. We was sitting in the car. We was traveling to a dip. We was traveling from Belize to Mexico, I believe. And I found out that Nature Boy was talking to multiple women behind my back. And when I found out he was talking to these people, I was, of course, in my feelings about it. So I wasn't giving him none of my energy. Like, I was ignoring him. I wasn't talking to him. And he got really upset at me because I wasn't giving him any of my energy. So what he did was he I was sitting up and he started slapping me in my head, like at the top of my head, over and over and over, like just slapping me like this in the top of my head. And I guess because, as fragile as I was and as sensitive as I was during the pregnancy, my nose started bleeding because he was hitting me in my head like this. So my nose started bleeding. And when my nose started bleeding, everybody in the fucking van seen this shit, was watching it. He pulled me out the car to give me some air, and he was like, "Get up, get up, get up," threw water on my face and stuff like that. And then double back after all of that shit happened, I forgave him for it. And then he got online, and I was taken up with him, trying to say that he didn't do that, but I did it off. I said that he didn't do it off of the strength to support him and not make it look like he was a negative bad person. But I'm starting to come to my realization that he was only using me at that moment. Nature Boy don't give a fuck about me. He don't give a fuck about his child. He's only gonna use us the only way that he can, so that he can make money, so he can make a beam, so he can get views, so that he can attract more women, more beautiful women to be with him. And this is the only reason why he was using me and putting me in the position that he was. But he was trying to break me at the same time.
This is off. I have to ask this. Do you think that his connection with baby Ellie, the way he's like, it's unhealthy to me. The way he will curse you out and say all he wants is his daughter. Do you think it's because baby Ellie looks like him and he has like this obsession with her, or?
I think he has an obsession with taking people's innocence. And I feel like his children are like his main prize to like. I feel like his children are the entities that he can target that will really fuel his narcissistic psychopathic tendencies, if that makes sense. Like, taking my innocence, like, that's cool and everything, like, that's brownie points, but for him to have a child and then take his own child's innocence is like the icing on the cake for him. Like, that's what I believe, because he's surrounding his life with all of these women, to have sex with all of these women, to make his children together. Do you know what that means? That means
And
that he's going to be breaking and taking the innocence of every child that's involved. This is how he gets his rocks off. You know what I'm saying? That's what I feel. I feel like he has an obsession with Eliana because, number one, she's a girl.
Mhm.
The boys, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, cool, like, whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a boy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, okay. But a girl, if you have a girl, you can put semen in her, have more babies. You see where I'm going with it? You see where
Yes,
I'm going with it?
yes.
With a boy, you have to marry a boy off to, you know what I'm saying, to a other. Eliana was a perfect fit in his mind to breed his children together, to breed her with somebody, his other child that he had, a boy who he had with another woman, to create more babies, to take their innocence. This is what I personally feel like.
And that's a perfect segue to my next question for you, Velvet. Um, Even after baby Eliana was born, I know that, the tribe was, kind of really hands on because of Nature Boy. Did you have any concerns about your daughter being around, even the men in the camp that had previously kind of exposed their own deviant and questionable sexual past? Was that anything that kind of went through your mind at any point, any time that you were in Mexico, about her
Wait,
being
wait, can you
around them?
ask me that? Can you ask me that again?
So the guys like True, Caliber, they all had really messed up, like they did lives where they talked about, you know, sleeping and having relations with their cousins and their siblings and things like that. Like, did that ever trigger you at any point to be more careful with baby Eliana around any of the men in the camp, or were they ever like, did you ever have like, this fears about her being, because you talk about Nature Boy trying to separate you from her at certain points throughout your time over there. Was that
Eliana,
ever a concern of yours?
um, for the most part, Eliana wasn't really around the men. She was around a little bit, like around at certain times. I had never personally felt that way when I was there. I never felt that energy come from none of the other guys until there was an actual guy who came there and said that he wanted to kill Eliana.
Mm. Oh
And then
yeah.
there was another guy who came and said that he had visions of molesting Eliana. But that before any of that shit could pop off, or him, like, that guy left the same night. But the other guy, Kite, he was always away from Eliana. Like, he never was around Eliana. But that's when I started thinking that other people would do that to her. So I had to start creating, and this was a part of my escape. Like, every single time when I was in these situations, I had to escape the situation. So when I would try to escape, before I would try to escape, he would always have Eliana with the women. The women weren't allowed to be around the men because Nature Boy separated the men and the women a lot of the times. So there was no a way for Eliana to really be, around the guys like that. But I started thinking about the women doing some fucked up shit to my child, not necessarily molesting them, but just being fucked up to her, like pinching her or pushing her or hitting her or talking to her wrong. You know what I'm saying? Not really nurturing her and being a mother to her, because Nature Boy would try to separate me and Eliana, and say that the women needed to take care of her so that me and him could have more time to be alone and do this and do that. So I had to create situations around me being around Eliana and really taking that role back. Like I had to literally take it back. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was an interesting dynamic, but every time I felt like I needed to take my role back as her mother, I was already planning my escape. Like I was already planning my escape. Like,
Got you.
You guys want to move on to the next chapter?
Yep.
Next chapter is Cookie's house. Wow. So this is a simple question. I just wanted to know because Nature Boy said it on many occasions that he was paying all of Cookie's bills. Um, I see that you guys really her home because she gave up her rooms. We barely ever saw her. The house was just full of carbonation members. Did he actually pay the bills like he said?
um, I don't know. I don't know. I never dealt with any of the money ever, so I don't know who was paying what, the money where the money was going. I don't know. I can't answer that.
Do you think Cookie was happy with the situation? I didn't like what was her disposition while you guys were all there? Like
She
kind of
was
what was daily
at
life like?
times, like for the most part, she would just sit in on our meetings. We had a lot of meetings, so she would like sit in on our meetings, and she would like just listen. But sometimes she would feel some type of way about certain stuff, and then she'll speak up about it. Like when I actually went to Cookie's house and lived with her with them, it was a very big issue with me being there because I was making noise. Like when the fucked up shit was happening, and I was like, stop it now, like, and calling the police and had child protection, and she was like, I don't want my house to be uh on the radar and stuff like this and stuff like that. So I was the most mainly the reason why we had to move out of Cookie house in the time span that we had to, because you know what I'm saying, I was making a lot of noise when I went. But when she did feel some type of way about something, she did speak up. But other than that, she would just listen. Like for the most part, she was just listen.
And I wanted to go back a little bit, back to before we get to cookies. Um, we were talking about how protective you were over baby Eliana. And this one is something that has always been of interest to me. The time that your pops and Tina showed up, how shocked were you, and how, well, I think you said earlier you were happy. Um, did you realize how a parent's love knows no bounds?
I definitely appreciated my parents for that moment after the fact, because I honestly speaking, in that moment when they came, I had all Nature Boy's energy over me. It wasn't me no more. It wasn't me standing there talking to them no more. That was Nature Boy coming out of me. So I was completely gone. My
Right.
spirit was completely gone. But after the fact, when I realized what actually happened, and if I was actually present, it would have probably been a different outcome. But I appreciated them for that after the fact, because remind remember how people are out here have that's trying to see me fail. My parents were Tina and dad. My dad was the only two people that I really realized who really had my back in the situation. That's who I grew up with. You see what I'm saying? So I felt they heart over the camera. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, wow, they did this for me. Like, how could I ever step down? And I just forgave myself as quick as I could, because I never meant that in the first place. I never meant to hurt them. I never meant to say none of
Right.
the shit and that's why I'm able to forgive myself for it because I never meant that. You know what I'm saying? It was a situation where other stuff was going on, underhanded stuff was going on with the manipulation tactics that Nature Boy, and I didn't have a lot of experience as a young woman out here in the streets anyway. So I was trying to figure it all out. But after the fact, I was very grateful for that because that really showed me the true color of everybody who was around me, like
Right.
literally.
Yeah, I could see that, and I could see how at the time you may have been put in an awkward position. Uh, but later figuring out, wow, my parents really do love me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cause for a minute there, this is a lot of stuff a lot of details I really necessarily can't share from my childhood because it's very sensitive. But for when I was a kid, I grew up thinking that my dad wasn't didn't love me, that he wasn't there for me, that he was neglecting me. When in actuality, he was actually there for me. He was just doing the best that he could. And as a young woman growing up and to have my own child and to know what my dad was going through, I forgave him for the shit that I felt like he did to me in my childhood, and I got over it because now I'm a mother and I don't have certain things to give to Eliana even though she needs it. But if she ever feel like I'm neglecting her in some type of way, I'll keep that communication open with her to talk to her like, look, baby, I didn't have it at the time, but I'm always putting in the work to make sure that you have. And my dad, even though he didn't talk to me verbally, he always showed it through his actions. You feel me?
Right. And I will say this and let it move on. Sometimes we don't understand what our parents uh, actually went through or that they were doing the best that they knew how until we ourselves become parents.
That's fact.
Sweet Ma, can I let me I want to ask one quick question about Mexico. And Velvet, you do not have to answer this if you don't want to, but I remember capturing this live, and I just remember being a little dumbfounded, and I could tell in the live that you weren't completely comfortable about what was going on, but you were fresh off of having a baby, and we kind of knew you were going through a lot of other abuses there. But how did you feel about Aya pacifying baby Eliana? Like, what are your personal thoughts on that? And you don't have to answer that if you don't want to, but
I can't really give you the real answer because it'll probably incriminate me.
oh,
But
okay.
I could
Okay.
tell you that I didn't like that shit not one bit. And the reason why he actually took the picture of her with Eliana on her breast was to get me to outlash. Because before all that shit went down, I told him, I said, don't put my fucking baby on nobody nipple. Let's go get her a pacifier. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit you talking about, raising the village, a kid, all that shit. Let's go get her a pacifier. He was like, well, I don't want to give her a pacifier. I want her to be all natural. He arguing with me about putting my baby on a pacifier. So at that point, in order to refrain from getting physically beaten with stitches on my vagina, I had to let him do what the fuck it was that he was doing. But not really even understanding that in the end he incriminated his own self in the end. But I didn't like that shit at all. At all. I had enough titty to feed all of them motherfuckers in carbonation. You think I wanted to put my child on another bitch breast that
Nope.
didn't give a fuck about me? She was only getting close to me so that she can get close to Nature Boy. After I had Eliana, I was holding Eliana in my arms. This bitch had the audacity to sit in front of me and say, "Oh, I believe I'm supposed to be chief this." Sometimes I wish that you would leave. What type of shit? And you think that this girl is gonna have my best interest? From the very beginning, I said I did never want it to be with Aya. From the very beginning, and look what she's doing now. But y'all sit there and be like, oh, well, she's under the circumstance too. She's being manipulated. The how Aya came and how I came to carbonation, melanation was two different ways. See, I didn't go to carbonation to fuck Nature Boy. I went to carbonation off of the strength of the knowledge. This is why y'all see me proclaiming the bitches now, or the bitches who came in Mexico. He only came to fuck him. This is why they don't proclaim.
Just to add to what you're saying, I remember seeing a live where you were telling Aya how you felt you didn't want to be with her, and I thought you were so mean, right? And I'm like, but it's just Aya's personality. She's very like,
Secretive,
yeah,
conniving.
she
She's
looks
secretive and conniving.
she looks like
Period.
the victim, and you look like the bully in that case. And I'm glad that you brought this up.
Aya bullied women, like new women who would come to be our wives. She would bully them. She would do shit to. Let me watch my language. Aya would do stuff to the other women just to get them in trouble by Nature Boy, just so she could get kudos, just so she could get brownie points.
And
And
I
this
thought
was confirmed by Sybil. So we believe that. We call her the
And Ra,
FBI.
and Ra, she did it a lot to Ra.
Aya the Spire. Okay. No, but I'm glad that you cleared that up because a lot of those past videos are still up. And I remember like looking at one and I'm like, oh my gosh, why are you so mean to her? She's so innocent. Aya's so, oh, she's so fragile. She played victim very well. You guys
Don't
still
let
have
it fool you.
questions?
Don't let it fool you. Yeah, I could look like I was the bad guy the whole time, but I was the only person that kept it real. You ain't never heard nothing real come out of Aya mouth, Efru mouth, Malia mouth, none of they mouth. I'm the only one that keep it real. Period.
That's
Manipulated or not. Manipulated or not.
that's why he wants your energy because you're different. They feed off of his energy because they're lacking something too. I'm, I'm not saying that these people are not victims. They're lacking something and they're finding it within him. Even if it's abuse, they're getting some sort of attention. And that's sad. You seem to have been the strong-minded one, the strong one, the strong one. But you know, for the ones that did leave, big ups to them, big ups to you. I don't know if you guys want to go back to Cookie's house or if you have more